Thanks for joining us for our continued discussion on the membership standard change proposed by the Boy Scouts of America. Some of you had some specific questions for me, and I thought I would use the rest of my time in answering some of those. Like what to do when a youth becomes an adult. As we understand it, under this new proposal, a youth who is homosexual, once they turn 18, then they would no longer be involved in scouting, serving as an adult. How do you deal with homosexual youth tending with each other? I really have no idea what the procedures would be in response to this, but if the motion passes, it goes into effect January 1st, 2014, and our tending guidelines will be developed by the national office. One question urged me to start educating adult leaders and parents and scouts about the laws on sodomy in Alabama. And you know, that type of education and teachings are not part of scouting. And as always, any type of sexual behavior by youth is not tolerated. And those youth, whether homosexual or heterosexual, that act out in that way or use scouting as a forum for their particular agenda will not be tolerated, and their membership will be revoked. Another question was about the Guide to Safe Scouting. It needs to be revised to deal with scouting in this new environment. And that guide is a document that the Boy Scouts of America Risk Management puts together. And I imagine they will update that guide this year, and if this motion passes, and then give information to councils on how to deal with that. Another question was, have I actually seen the stats or the breakdown from the surveys on national? We saw the executive summary and information on that, and now on the website, scouting.org, you can find a lot of that information. Our results on the Voice of the Scout survey, 76.5% of our volunteers did not support a change. A question about where can we get copies or examples of the survey, and you can get that on our website, onebsa.org. Another question was, I cannot understand how the BSA or the Greater Alabama Council can think that simply standing on the fence is any type of solution. Well, although the Greater Alabama Council is chartered by the Boy Scouts of America, we did not participate in the development of this motion. Instead, when we received notice of the changes back in January, February, we immediately communicated to our volunteers and parents the information and shared that feedback to the national office. My role is not to speak one way or the other on this issue, but to try to give you the information. Those who know me know my personal views on the subject, but I will not use my position as Scout Executive to convince you one way or the other. In the resolution, someone pointed out that the word youth is used rather than boy. Does that mean that the Boy Scouts of America is opening its program up to girls? Boy Scouts will not be open to girls, but we do have a venturing program that is co-ed, so I would assume this wording is to accommodate our co-ed programs like venturing and Sea Scouting. Will each charter organization get a vote in their council? Well, in our council, we're asking each charter organization to let us know if they support or do not support this new motion. The only votes we get on this motion are our 5 voting delegates who will be attending the Boy Scouts of America National Annual Meeting in May. Another question is, how is the Boy Scouts of America going to handle a 17-year-old homosexual scout and an 11-year-old scout in the same camp? Well, as this motion, if it passes, there'll be an implementation phase in which new guidelines are placed, and obviously leaders and parents have a say in all that. We were also asked if we could provide a list to you of our voting delegates, but we're obligated to keep their identities confidential, but they are bound to vote the will of the council. We're not happy about this, and what about adult leaders? Can they serve as leaders? And this standard is only applying to youth. The adult standard, which prohibits open or avowed homosexual adults, will still be in place if this motion passes. Another question will be, will local charter organizations be able to deny membership to youth based on sexual orientation? Well, we believe sexual conduct by any scout is contrary to the virtues of scouting. And if passed, no youth may be denied membership in the Boy Scouts of America on the basis of the sexual orientation or preference alone. But it also states that we expect appropriate behavior regardless of sexual orientation. Please explain what the word alone means at the end of the resolution. That proposal states that no youth may be denied membership in the Boy Scouts of America on the basis of sexual orientation or preference alone. This means that if a young person says they are gay, that in and of itself would not be grounds to immediately remove him from scouting. But it also states that we expect appropriate behavior regardless of the sexual orientation. Thanks for your questions.